Guys, Nate here from The Run Experience. We are going to talk about how to return to running after injury. I'm going to give you 4 must-dos to make this a successful transition. All right, guys, let's get a few things really crystal clear before we jump into our tips today. A lot of times when we're coming back from an injury, unless we got hit by a taxi cab, which is something we like to say, where i.e. it was a freak accident that you had no control over, a lot of our injuries are bundled up into our habits, into the day-to-day stuff in terms of how we move, how we breathe, the exercises we do. And a lot of the tips we're gonna go into today are gonna address some of those habits and add them back in. It is so important that when you return to running, that you don't lapse back into the stuff that got you in trouble in the first place. So really, really important. Don't think of your hamstring or your knee or your calf as this isolated event. Think of it as this, check engine light on, that something bigger needs to change. And if I can start to wrap my head around that, I'm gonna use this injury to actually set me on to a better trajectory rather than just lapse back into the old stuff. So the first thing we're gonna talk about here is actually the importance of a warm-up. And if I'm coming back after injury, if I've just been cleared to start adding some miles in, the last thing I wanna do is just go out the door and start shuffling. As I like to say, slow jogging is not a good warm-up for slightly faster jogging. I want you to stop and I want you to add some different movements in. Some of my favorite things would just be to post up on this leg, work on some leg swings here. I could work on 10 to 20, and as I'm doing this, I'm just balancing on this leg. I could start to get my arms involved, swinging my arms forward and back a little bit more. I could start to kick up, swing back behind, load and stabilize. I could go up and kick up again. I could do 5 to 10 of these. Finally, I could go up and down here, just really opening up these hips. And then finally, I could put both hands on the ground. I could get some circles down here. And guys, this is just, I'm going through this super express. We've got videos specifically going into how to warm up. I just want to show you, I could even push back into a downward dog position, pedal out these feet. I could come forward, hit a little push up, push back, hit a little push up, push back, hit 5 to 10. And again, what this does, it gets me into my body. It opens up my shoulders, it opens up my hips, it gets blood flowing, it gets my midline, my core engaged, so that when I start to run, I'm that much more in that athletic mode and mindset. Cool. Our next thing we need to think about is strength training. We need to go beyond our mindset of just being a runner and go into the mindset of being an athlete who also runs. And I tell you what, the better you can build this strong body, the more your running is going to express itself naturally, really, really nicely with good mechanics. A lot of times we're just not strong enough to hold ourselves upright and we start to slump over, and then all of these ugly mechanics start to come out, and that's why we get injured in the first place. So my favorite couple movements, we actually have a little free thing for you at the end that goes into these movements. You wait around and definitely check that out, is making sure I'm hitting some squats and some push-ups, some lunges and some burpees, and then a little core strength. Some of our favorite things is learning how to get myself into a strong, stable, hollow body position and an arch body position. And again, we got a little free training for you at the end, so stay ready for that. But I should be doing something like that at least 2 days a week. I think that's very, very reasonable as a runner to add that in. If I add that in, I build the mechanics for stronger running so I don't get injured in the first place, or I don't get injured again. Now, the next thing I need to think about is a little re-examination of my technique, or an examination if I've never examined it before. I need to think about how I run. And specifically, I want you to think about your running technique this way. If you've ever flown cross-country or worked for a very, very long time in a chair, you may start upright, but what starts to happen after 30 minutes or an hour? You get here. What happens after a couple hours, especially if you're on that airplane, pretty soon your head's on the shoulder of the guy next to you, you got a little drool coming out, and then you come up off the plane and you're like, oh man, I'm really sore. I want you to think about that with your runs, and especially for you guys who are running longer, you may start really nicely with good intentions, but what happens? You start to lapse into some ugly stuff after a while. So number one, bringing a little bit of awareness in. What I might recommend is that every 5 minutes you stop and do something that's not running. You give yourself a little reset, a little change of pattern, just to get yourself back into what it means to stand tall again and to improve your posture. One of our favorite things is to stop and squat. So every 5 minutes, I want you to stop, stand up tall, drop down and do 10 squats. Noticing that we're layering in some of the strength work we just added, and we're adding it into our run, because if I can add that squat in there, all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, this is what it means to be tall again. This is what it means to have my hips forward. This is gonna help me with my technique. Now, the last thing, guys, that's really, really important as you go back out to running, I know you're gonna be really excited, and maybe in your brain you have this idea that, man, if I don't run 3 miles, it's not successful, or if I don't run 4 or 5 miles, or 3 kilometers, or 5 kilometers, or whatever it is. I want you to ditch the all or nothing mindset right now. I want you to give yourself bailout options instead. Notice we're on this wonderful track, and I could start running here, and basically I could add my strength, my technique, my warm-up, everything I did. But a huge portion when we get back to running is that we have to be listening to our body, and we have to stop immediately when your body says, hey, that's enough for today. Like your Achilles is just getting back into things. I don't want to be on this out and back run where I've just run 2 miles and I say, oh my goodness, my calf doesn't want to run anymore, but I have to run 2 miles home, and then I'm limping and I'm in this really bad place where I've just knocked myself back a few pegs. Instead, do short focus blocks around your house. Go to a track, go to a soft surface where you could say, you know what, I'm gonna try to get that 4 miles in, but if I don't make it, that's okay. I can stop, I can walk, I can stretch it out, and I got 1 mile or 2 mile, which was really positive. I worked my injured area just enough, but I didn't overdo it. I didn't re-inflame it. I didn't re-injure it. So have a bailout option. Do that for the next couple weeks. Build your running mileage back up, and then you'll be setting yourself up for success. Look, a lot of you are potentially here because we're not as strong as we could be, we're not as mobile as we could be, and our running technique is not as good as it could be. That's why we put together a 2-week free program to address those various areas specifically for you. You could do it anywhere, on a track, in a park, in a home. You don't need any equipment. It's our 2-week quick start little challenge, and it has some of our favorite go-to run technique workouts, strength movements with just body weight, as well as some of our favorite mobility and injury prevention exercises. All you need to do to get it, click this link in this video. There's also a link down in the description. Guys, if you like this video, let us know. We always like to know that. Hit that like button for us. Got any comments or questions? You want to give us a little high five? You want to give us a little request for something else? Hit us up in the comments, and definitely subscribe to our channel. We got so much great stuff coming out each and every week on injury prevention, on run workouts, on marathon training, on ultra stuff, on how to go down hills. You name it, we got it. And if we don't have it, we'll film it soon. Once again, guys, Nate here from The Run Experience. We'll catch you in the next video.